Once again, good morning and welcome. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to thank you for coming, sir. We also have in our midst a veteran of development and a retired resident representative of UNDP in various African countries. We have Professor Kamil Kamaluddin, popularly known as KK.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure and singular honor to also introduce a multi-skilled public policy, international development, communication and strategy expert. My pleasure to introduce Senior Special Assistant to the President on International Cooperation, Mr. Dapo Wale. We also have with us, of course, the co-convener, our own firebrand UNDP Nigeria resident representative, who is wearing two caps today. She is the resident coordinator ad interim and also the RR UNDP. So the two caps will be in operations at this meeting. It's my pleasure to introduce Elsie Atifwa. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I also want to recognize the presence of the Deputy Resident Representative of UNDP in Nigeria, Vasha Reka Kalegu. Thank you. And I recognize our development partners. Thank you so much for coming. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to yield the floor to the one that lives and is accountable for harnessing and directing the full potentials of UNDP's capabilities in supporting Nigeria's development goals, the arrowhead of integrating SDGs in Nigeria, the RR of UNDP in Nigeria. Madam Elsie Atifwa to give the opening remarks. I leave the floor to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. You made me a bit shy. But let me first of all recognize His Excellency Dr. Dunoma Umar Ahmed, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, representing the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Ambassador Yusuf Meitama Tuga OON. I want to recognize all senior government officials from the Foreign Ministry. I know a number of ambassadors are also here. My very good friend, Mr. Dapo. Let me also recognize our colleagues from the United Nations family. A number of representatives are here. And I see UNICEF, I see UNODC, I see other also colleagues from the UN. Thank you very much. Distinguished representatives of development partners who are here, multilateral and bilateral institutions and foundations. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just simply stand on existing protocols and say good morning. And welcome once again to the United Nations House. And our resident coordinator, Mohammed Ford, is outside of the country, and I'm standing in for him. And therefore, on his behalf, let me welcome you to the UN House, a house that Your Excellency, the government of Nigeria, has been very generous to bless us with. It is both a pleasure and a privilege to host you today for this high-level stakeholder roundtable on the regional partnership for democracy. Allow me first and foremost to express our deep appreciation to the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Ambassador Yusuf Meitama Tuga, for his visionary leadership and unwavering commitment to democratic renewal across West Africa. And I should say, not many times do you get a foreign minister coming to the UN House 2 days in a row. And we had him on Tuesday and we had him yesterday. And today he is being represented. So it just tells you the leadership of the government, and we do appreciate. I also warmly acknowledge and thank you, Dr. Dunoma Umar Ahmed, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, for graciously representing the Honorable Minister at this important engagement today. This gathering reflects the shared conviction that democracy matters, that resilient institutions, inclusive participation, and regional cooperation are essential for long-term peace, stability, and prosperity of West Africa. The Regional Partnership for Democracy, as said by the moderator Shay, is a Nigerian-led and African-owned initiative that seeks to reinforce, first of all, reinforce the integrity and independence of democratic institutions, broaden inclusive civic and political participation, especially for young persons, youth, women, marginalized voices, and establish robust platforms for regional knowledge exchange and innovation in democratic governance. In collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, UNDP, and by extension, the United Nations family is proud to serve as a technical and implementing partner for this bold strategic initiative. Today's roundtable offers a critical opportunity for you, our valued partners in the UN system, multilateral banks, bilateral development agencies, philanthropic institutions, to engage with the RPD's strategic vision, share ideas for partnership and innovation, and explore pathways for institutional collaboration and sustainable financing. We recognize the depth of experience and commitment you bring to the table, whether in supporting elections, building state capacity, fostering civic space, or advancing regional peace and governance frameworks. Your insights will be vital to shaping a shared approach to implementation. Let me, on behalf of the UNDP and the wider United Nations family, sincerely thank you for your long-standing support to Nigeria and to democratic governance in the region. We invite you now to help co-create the next phase of this journey, one that moves beyond crisis response to building enduring democratic foundations for West Africa. Let this be the beginning of a transformative platform for collaboration, for regional ownership, and meaningful long-term impact. Thank you once again for being here, friends and colleagues. We all should look forward to a rich and productive discussion. Thank you, and once again, Dr. Umar, thanks for coming. Thank you.
Thanks so much, RCAI, RR, UNDP. You said it all. Your insights will be very vital. That's to all the development partners here. And thank you for your long-time support to UNDP and Nigeria. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to call on the representative of the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, very distinguished Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Dr. Dunoma Umar Ahmed, to take the floor for the opening address. Ambassador, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me first of all thank Ms. Elsie Atefwa, the resident UNDP representative, for all the good work that you've been doing. On behalf of the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Maitama Tuga, let me convey his apologies for his inability to be here with you today. He would have loved to be here, but okay, because of the importance that we attach to this program. And he is attending to another national assignment, and he asked me to represent him. And immediately he gave me that directive, and considering the importance of the program, I had to also postpone all other programs to be here with you. So he said I should also convey his felicitations for the good work that you are doing. Let me join you in standing on the existing protocol and also deliver his message. It is my distinct honor and privilege to welcome you on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to this high-level stakeholder engagement roundtable on the Regional Partnership for Democracy. We are deeply grateful for your presence here today, which is a testament to the enduring value we collectively place on dialogue, partnership, and multilateral engagement in the pursuit of democratic consolidation and good governance across our region. The Regional Partnership for Democracy is conceived as a collaborative framework that seeks to strengthen democratic institutions, safeguard constitutional order, and foster citizen engagement in a manner that reflects the aspirations of our people and the shared values enshrined in key regional and continental instruments, including the ECOWAS Protocol on Democracy and Good Governance and the African Charter on Democracy, Elections, and Good Governance. This roundtable presents a vital opportunity to share progress made, outline strategic priorities, and most importantly, deepen engagement with our valued development partners. We are keen to foster synergies that are not only coherent and responsive to the evolving democratic landscape, but also grounded in mutual respect, shared responsibility, and African ownership. Nigeria remains steadfast in its commitment to advancing democracy, peace, and stability within the West African sub-region and across the continent. We recognize that these goals are best achieved through inclusive partnerships rooted in trust, transparency, and a shared vision for sustainable development. As we deliberate today, I encourage all of us to reflect on how we can collectively support the Regional Partnership for Democracy as a platform for a meaningful collaboration with regional aspirations and contribute to the broader objectives of Agenda 2063. Permit me.
You know, just a few years ago, there was something called the New Partnership for Africa, for Africa's development, which is the African Union. I was the United Kingdom then, one of the diaspora, but like you called me earlier, I'm now a Japada, I'm back home. But I do remember at that time, those of us Africans who were in the diaspora were often sidelines in conversations about Africa. But the minute the New Partnership for Africa's Development came up, everybody took Africa seriously. Those of us in the diaspora were invited to the table. What do you think? Africa seems to finally be taking charge of its own initiative. And it wasn't just talk. The presidents then, Thabo Mbeki, Obasanjo, Abdoulaye Wade, and Mubarak, all came together and created instruments and systems and processes for mutual accountability. One which we all know very well, which is called the Africa Peer Review Mechanism. That is an example of the kind of cross-country coordination that will be needed to drive this new thinking about our democratic evolution as a sub-region and also as a continent. These are areas where our development partners can lend their knowledge, their expertise, and their capabilities. Also, as I said yesterday, no one has a monopoly on knowledge. We on this side, some of us in government, our friends in the development community, some in academia, we all see the different sides of an elephant, a trunk, a tail, the leg. It is only when we bring our views and our knowledge together that we can see the whole elephant, so to speak. And I dare say democracy is an elephant in terms of its structure and how diverse it can be. And in that regard, we really need to engage in peer learning. Yes, of course, we, for many decades, have had to learn from the supposedly more developed countries of the West. But we are also noticing there are lessons we can learn from ourselves, from other countries in the global South, but also countries here in Africa and in the West African sub-region. There are good things happening in places, different places in Africa. There are good case studies that we can learn from. Why are we not investing in learning from ourselves, particularly because our history, our culture, and our challenges are similar? So we want to ensure that even as we're learning in terms of international and global best practices, we are also learning from within ourselves. And in that regard, peer learning and tech support is absolutely fundamental as part of this process. And in addition, learning from one another is also trust building, because then we're not looking at each other as one is superior or one is inferior, but actually we're learning from one another to move in the same direction. And why do we want to do this? Exactly like I said before, it is really about ensuring that we can enhance the democratic dividends that many people are looking for. People are looking for impact, not just talk. People are looking for results in their pockets and in their stomachs. People want to ensure that democracy transforms their lives and changes their livelihoods. And until we're able to do that, democracy itself will be an abstract construct that is far away from what the people need and what the people are asking for. So the vision of the Regional Partnership for Democracy is very, very clear. It's a multi-country initiative rooted in shared values, aspirations, and regional cooperation. a platform to coordinate, to learn, and to lead democratic innovation, this time spearheaded, homegrown from our region and not necessarily just from outside. Also, a West African democratic model that delivers on the dividends of democracy for the people and, quite importantly, unites the region. And this is why the vision statement very clearly says to advance democratic governance in West Africa by promoting ownership, inclusion, integrity, and effective institutions that, quite importantly, serve the people. So having said that, let me pause for a minute and go to our eminent professor to answer a question that is already at the back of your minds. I know our development partners are very technical. You're already looking at your log frames and your strategic documents and how this feeds in. And one question you already have about this initiative is, how will it work and how will it function? No one better than to take us through that than Professor KK. Professor.
Thank you, Prof. Your Excellency, Ambassador Dunama Umar Ahmed, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Foreign Affairs, ably representing His Excellency the Minister. Our leader, Madam Elsie Atafo, the resident representative of UNDP and resident coordinator, humanitarian coordinator AI today. Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, High Commissioners, heads of diplomatic missions, heads of international organizations here present, distinguished colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and from the United Nations system, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to continue the discussion, the presentation ably started by our own Mr. Dakoye. Yes, the vision is clear. The purview is defined. The raising depth is defined. How will this work on the ground? So I'll speak to three things. First, I'll speak to the structure, because the structure is important. And in this particular case, the structure is designed in a way that helps us to achieve organizational efficiency, that helps us to ease delivery, that helps us to implement the program in a way that rises to the highest levels of inclusivity, of integrity, and of accountability. In this connection, there are 4 layers in terms of the structure. At the very top of that structure is what we call the Regional Oversight Board, which is the highest level for the delivery of the RPD, responsible for strategic leadership, and it is composed of members from the participating countries, West Africa, let's put it that way. Their responsibility covers the oversight of the entire program, strategic direction, approvals and decision making, particularly regarding program, but also regarding use and allocation of resources. In other words, they approve the work plans, they approve the budget, and they are responsible for ensuring that the program delivers to the highest levels of accountability. Below that, we have a program coordinating team, which is a UNDP specific program structure that is designed to ensure implementation effectiveness. This should not surprise us. A program that is this sensitive, that is this broad, that has political actors and has to deliver democratic objective, must have the best in terms of a structure that is independent, a structure that is oiled and effective, that is impartial, that is neutral. And that's what UNDP represents. And that's why the government has called on UNDP to, so that it insulates itself from any partisan insinuations as to whether how the clarity of its objectives are, or what its intentions really are. UNDP will bring its expertise, its experience, and its time-tested fiduciary management mechanisms to ensure that this is delivered to the satisfaction of all stakeholders. Below that is the program secretariat. As the name suggests, is to provide administrative, logistic, and communication support to the program. Communication in terms of relationship with the member states that are members, but also in terms of organs that work with the RPD. And then a fourth structure, which is the substantive structure in terms of the technical capacity, the thematic knowledge, the technical expertise, to bring them together to work together. As we will see in the second slide, the value of democracy on the ground. Rule of law is important, not only in terms of the actors and the processes, but also the results that are delivered. Inclusivity, as I mentioned, the voices of everybody, all partners, all members, all constituent elements within the particular community will be very important. How do we include everybody, men and women, young and old? How do we ensure that no matter the circumstances of geography or the circumstances of history or socioeconomic status, how do they, how are they equalized to ensure that everybody has a voice, everybody has a place, everybody is able to identify with that process? That's extremely important. And non-partisanship, neutrality, impartiality, all of these are important, but the RPD must operate in a way that it is not seen as it's more for or less for any particular group, economic, social, geographical, historical. How do we deal with this? We have to keep this as a criterion in terms of how the RPD works, and this is a particular responsibility for the program implementation and management. The choice of objective, the choice of activities, the choice of actors, the choice of location, all of this has to be seen that evidently they are non-partisan. Accountability and transparency, this is extremely important. The highest levels of integrity are important in terms of the way the RPD works, and that can only be seen in terms of the choices that are made in program, but also the results that are achieved. How do we account for resources that have been spent? How do we account for the time that have been spent? How do we account in a way that everybody sees clearly that there is real value in not only in the partnership but also in the result? And context sensitivity. Context sensitivity is extremely important because we have to move to strategies that are flexible and adaptive to the political, social, cultural circumstances of the different target groups within the system. It's not to pander to any particular interest, but to ensure that there is balance that is rational. So you have to take context sensitivity, non-partisanship, and inclusivity together, and then you have a solid program response to the circumstances of every country. It's not exhaustive. There are other guiding principles around partnership, around innovation, around sustainability. Because we do have to ensure that at the back of our mind, we have sustainability there in terms of capacities built, in terms of institutions strengthened, in terms of processes that have been laid out, such that RPD does not stay there forever, but its impact lasts forever. Final point for me would be to talk to why are regional partnership for democracy is important in strengthening democracy. And I'll speak to 4 things only here. I think when we hear African vision, that's okay. When we have Pan-African philosophy, then it becomes something that it shouldn't. That one should not trigger any sense of what is this, particularly from purists. That okay, why democracy is only one democracy? Why are you guys coming to whether it's Pan-African or no? We're not trying to redefine democracy. We're just saying that from democracy, it should respect values. It should respect idiosyncrasy. It should respect the social, the cultural, and the economic circumstances of the countries that are involved. It's still democracy, whether you go presidential or you go parliamentary. It's still democracy, whether you respect your history that is built on monarchical arrangement, or you respect your history that is built on that does not have a monarchical arrangement. It's still democracy. If you have a constitution that is written, or you have one that is unwritten. So what we are looking at in Pan-Africanism is just for you to take it in the literal. It does respect the cultural, economic, and social circumstances and historical, long-standing values that are there to the people that are concerned. It will reclaim ownership of Africa's development, Africa's democratic journey based on our values and aspirations. It will enhance and reinforce institutional resilience. Yeah, but terms are good, processes are good, but sometimes they just come and they go. You do election and you wait for 4 years. You do another one, maybe 5 in some other country. But how do they become ingrained, that they become part and parcel of our processes, not necessarily episodes or activities that will come and go? We need to have resilience over time. How do we link them to results? How do we link them to values that we hold very dear? And it will promote shared reforms, peer learning, and mutual accountability. If everybody is involved, everybody will own it. If everybody understands it, everybody will understand the result. And if we have a system that creates platform for each other, then it becomes a question of nobody knows nothing and nobody knows nothing. We need to learn across the aisle. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. I heard somewhere that when you successfully co-present a paper with a professor, you automatically become a professor yourself. So please feel free to refer to me as professor by affiliation. Thank you very much, Prof, for very ably and aptly helping us to understand the mechanics, the ideology, and how this is going to work in practice. And I'm very sure that fills some of the gaps in terms of some of the questions that were on your minds. But one other question, which is very, very important, and I'm sure again is at the back of your mind, is why Nigeria? Well, first of all, there's alignment between the vision of Mr. President, our foreign policy thrust, and the traditional role that Nigeria has always played in African history. From fighting for colonization, fighting against apartheid, maintaining peace and security in West Africa and across the region, Nigeria has been consistent in seeing itself as not just a leader, but a brother, a sister, and a key investor committed to regional stability, growth, and development across the entire region. And it remains the same. And in Mr. President's renewed hope agenda, he knows only too clearly that if you want to renew hope in Nigeria, you have to renew hope in West Africa. If you need to renew hope in West Africa, you need to do the same across Africa. And if you want to renew hope in Africa, well, we need to renew our engagement and our partnership with our friends in the international community. So there is consistency across board. I'd also like to encourage you to please look to this right-hand side. If you look on the right-hand side, the handsome gentleman on my right-hand side right here, Mr. Abdul Kasim, look at his cap. Next to him, you see a different cap. Then you see another cap. You look at my cap, and you look at his cap. Each of these caps actually represent our ethnic lineage, so to speak, or our cultural affiliation. But we all sit here together as one, as Nigerians. Nigeria is one of the countries that has been able to manage diversity much more than even some of our friends in the global community. So I think the credibility and the legitimacy is there for Nigeria to be spearheading this. It has demonstrated it, and it will continue to do so. So apart from what we always say, it's the giant of Africa, it's the largest democracy in Africa, it's the largest democracy in the black world. Well, to whom much is given, much is expected. And that is why Nigeria is investing in ensuring that it drives this renewal of democracy, as Mr. President has continued to do within the ECOWAS sub-region and also within the African Union. And that regional influence that Nigeria has actually is very fundamental in being able to drive the kind of conversations and convene the attention that is required for this to happen in a collaborative and effective manner. I think the issue of why it's important has already been dealt with. So let's also think about, when it comes to Africa, they say Africa is one of the most researched continents in terms of papers, policies, and programs and things of that nature. But what makes RPD uniquely African in its approach to democracy? Well, it's actually nothing new. It is us continuing to say what we've always said, but now to actually translate it into action and reality. And these things are enshrined clearly in the African Union Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance, also in the ECOWAS Protocol on Democracy and Good Governance. And so RPD is not challenging or supplementing, it's actually complementing and enhancing what we as African countries have already agreed to do. And Nigeria's role in this is not the traditional so-called big brother role, but is actually to just kickstart, to jumpstart, and to infuse the energy that is required to get this going in the right direction. And that is why Mr. President and the Honorable Minister are committed to this process. And you'll be hearing some statements from Mr. President on this initiative as we move closer to Democracy Day, which is just next month. Then when it comes to you, our dear friends, our development partners, after you've heard all this, you're wondering, at least I hope you're wondering, how can we help? What can we do? How can we support? Well, there's a saying, I think, what doesn't get measured doesn't get done. Well, one of the areas where I know only too well that you have strong expertise and capabilities in the area of monitoring, evaluation, and learning systems. So as a clear technical area of support, providing some technical assistance in the area of MEL will be very helpful. Secondly, many of you have governance programs. I used to lead the policy and strategy team of the DFID, or is it FCDO now, project. We provide support to Nigeria's government, federal and state government for several years. So I've been on your side of the table as well. And I know only too well from a lot of the initiatives that were done through FCDO or in collaboration with some of our other development partners, we could see meaningful change in skills, capacity, and the ability of government to actually strengthen its system, its processes, and abilities. Well, we invite you to bring your learnings and your technical expertise to help us to do this, not just in Nigeria, but even across the West African sub-region, particularly around the areas of digital governance, which is new, around gender inclusion, which is fundamental. I would add also people living with disabilities. This is one component of inclusive democracy that we tend to forget. And transitional justice and civic technology. There are new areas of governance that are emerging that we have not, in Africa and even out there in the West, built the capability to address. We invite you to join us in this innovative process of looking at new solutions, developing new tools to respond to the demands of today's democracy and not just yesterday's. And also, like I said, yesterday, evidence-based policy is fundamental. Data matters. We can't just be reactive in terms of decision making. So in terms of helping to look and to generate data that can drive effective policy decision making is very, very important, but also in a manner that is culturally, politically, and socially relevant and responds to the lived experiences of people. So, we need your technical support, and we need your coordinated technical partnership, because again, we know only too well that there's often a challenge when you're also now dealing with too many partners at the same time. It carries its own administrative burden. We would like to see a coordinated approach in terms of this technical partnership. In Nigeria, and I'm sure many of you by now, you're already speaking some pidgin English. We say, soup wey sweet, na money killer. Meaning, well, meaning if you want to eat something that is delicious, you have to invest in it. Let me paraphrase the meaning for you. So really, we also need financial support. We've shared with you ideas and processes, technically sound, politically relevant, socially impactful. But to be able to drive this, we need more resources. The government will be putting in its resources. The UNDP has been exceptional in helping us right from the beginning in ideation, conceptualization, and even convening this meeting. We invite you to be part of that process of also contributing to financially to getting this off the ground. They say reputation is an asset. You all have sterling reputations in the work that you do as institutions and as development professionals. And I will say that because though I wear a government hat, my heart is all development. And I know that you all have a burden to see good things happen in Africa that can really testify to the work that you've done and the investment that you've made here. So we also know that through your reputational capital, we can also use that to leverage open doors that ordinarily we might not be able to open as government. So your strategic leadership to leverage the reputational capital that you have is equally important. Also, global advocacy. This is an initiative that requires us to change minds, change narratives, change perceptions. We will do it. We are committed to doing it. That is why we're here. But we also know that we cannot do it alone. We will need your voices and we will need your support to be able to drive a new way of seeing Africa, thinking about Africa, and engaging Africa, particularly in this conversation about democracy. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think you've heard enough. If you want to hear more, we're here to tell you more as well. But we're very, very grateful for your attention and also for making the time to join us. On behalf of His Excellency, the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, ably represented by the Permanent Secretary, Ambassador Ahmed, and of course our partners at UNDP, well represented by Madam Elsie Atafwa. We thank you very much for listening to us, but most importantly, we invite you to be part of a transformative initiative which could really build a legacy, not just for us as Africans, but also for you as our development partners, leaving a mark in the sand of what you did at this critical juncture in history. We thank you very much.
Thank you so much to two erudite scholars, Professor Dapo Uyole. Yes. Yes, that was a great presentation by the two pilots, and it was actually professorial presentations. Thank you so much. Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, there is, before we go into question and answer, please excuse us. Just go to the next room, A6. Then immediately after the question and answer, we invite you back for the vote of thanks, and then we have photo ops. Thank you.